Welcome. Welcome to the Health Educated Radio Show. I got a radio show, y'all. I don't even know how this happened. Some of y'all may know my husband Bilal, and I actually told him an hour ago that I was starting a radio show. And he was like, "Why can't you just sit down? Why you always gotta be doing something?" And I don't know. I cannot even explain it. It's just I just get these ideas and I just have to act on them. And so I got a radio show. I don't know how it happened, but here I am. But I can tell you that God is something else. Many of you know I've been doing community outreach work for many, many years, well over a decade now. But I had mostly transitioned to doing corporate health and wellness work prior to the pandemic. And when the vaccines became available and I saw how many Black people were refusing to get the vaccine, including myself. But once I decided to get it out, I had to look up the information. I had to get the facts. I had to get my life together. And I decided to get it. But it was still so many more people that were not getting it. And it was too many of us dying. And the numbers were crazy. And so I started looking for a new job. I work at the University of the Sciences now in the Philadelphia College of Pharmacy. But I was like, this is not where I belong. I need the Lord to put me in a job where I can create messages to help people make better health decisions. And I prayed about that. And I applied for a job at the CDC. And it was like, thanks, but no thanks. I was a little hurt by that, but that's all right. I picked myself up and I kept on moving. But it's amazing that God has allowed me to do exactly what I asked him to let me do in many other amazing, cool ways. So it's really been incredible. Shout out to Uncle P for having a vision for cmpradio.net to allow people like me an opportunity to get out important messages in our community. So thank you, Uncle P. Thank you. So you're at the premiere of the Health Educated Radio Show, where I'm going to bring you the top healthcare providers to keep it real and keep you up to date on important health information to save our lives, to save our children's lives, to save our community's lives, so we can just live healthier and happier. To kick off the show tonight, we are talking COVID vaccines, and we're actually going to stay at this topic for a little while because it's important and because the world is moving on, whether Black people get vaccinated or not. They're taking off their masks and, people moving on. And so I just feel like we have to work a little harder to get our people the information that they need to address their concerns so that we are not continuing to stay at the top of the numbers when it comes to people who are still dying from COVID. So we'll be at COVID for the next few weeks, COVID vaccines, until we can get these numbers up. And so here we are. So last week, a lot of you know that we did a mother-to-mother talk on COVID vaccines, and we did a father-to-father talk. Uncle P was on the father-to-father talk, and Uncle P said he was not getting vaccinated, and he said that throughout the whole hour program. And I was like, what happened? So we have been talking about the COVID vaccine for probably a little over a month now. And, I was trying to address questions. I never judged them, just really letting him be in his space and just addressing his concerns. And I felt like leading up to the vaccine clinic, he was going to get vaccinated because he was starting to ask questions that made me feel like, oh, snap, he going to get this vaccine on Saturday. But on Wednesday's program, he was like, I'm not getting vaccinated. I'm not touching it. I'm not drinking the water. I'm not. And I was like, oh, man, we back at square one. What happened? So I had asked him to come out to do a live broadcast at Saturday's vaccine clinic. And I didn't say anything about the vaccine. I didn't ask him about it, but he got on the bus. We had did a mobile clinic. He got on the bus and he was talking about he not getting the vaccine. And I was like, well, I ain't even going to say nothing. I'm just going to sit here and let everybody else talk to him. So Rasheed is smiling. He was there on the bus with us. And I just sat back. And then I got off the bus to check on the other bus. And I heard everybody shouting and clapping. And Lamar Todd was the host. So I'm like, what is he over there talking about? Because we was over there cracking up with him. And I went back over to the bus and they said Uncle P was getting vaccinated. And I said, won't he do it? The Lord is just in the blessing business. He is taking care of us and our people one at a time. I'll take it. And so Uncle P got vaccinated on Saturday.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
Yep. So he got vaccinated. So I wanted to just have a conversation today, just to kind of talk about that a little bit, dig in a little deep, see what happened, where the light bulb go off. And I want to introduce you all to Rasheed Lee. He is a critical care nurse and a training and education analyst at Penn Presbyterian in Philadelphia. And so he was on the clinic with us, helping to administer vaccines. He has given hundreds of vaccines through all of this and has done a lot of work for COVID-19 patients. So welcome to the show, Rasheed. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
Yep. And then Dr. Walls is a clinical psychologist. She's going to join us in a few minutes. So I just wanted to mention that because you'll see her pop in, and then as soon as she gets here, we'll start talking to her. So Uncle P, how you feeling?
I'm feeling good. You know, I got a little headache. I think that's because I haven't really eaten anything all day today. You know, from the time of my vaccination. Right? Gotta find a new word now that you done took vaccinized. But no, from the time that so this is how it happened, right? Because everybody's like, bro, you were so against the shot. When Brother Rasheed was talking about the brothers that need help, assistance after they deal with COVID, I started to think about myself, right? Literally, like, you know, what am I gonna do if COVID was to hit me? Like, who would help me take care of me? And the first step was getting the vaccine, right? Let me help so I don't have to worry about COVID having that much of an effect in my life, right? And so it's, you know, I already have my kids. My kids are always with me, right? Even while I'm working and I'm trying to do things, they're still here, right? So I know that I'm their first protection, right? So I needed that safe, not a guarantee that I wouldn't be affected by it, but it wouldn't affect me as bad as it could. You know what I mean? And I know brothers that have been affected by it, right? That aren't breathing the same, aren't doing the same thing. So for me, it was like, yo, I really had to think about that. Now, majority of the time, I'm standing with other people that are like, I ain't fooling with the vaccine at all. So I was never around so many people that heard what I had to say and talked to me and said, this is why I feel this way. Let me explain to you what's going to happen, right? So, you know, I was sitting there, I was talking to a doctor, I was talking to the nurse, and then I heard Brother Rasheed, and then I had two other people that stopped in there and had a conversation with me. So it was like, you know what? Maybe how I feel is just off of how I feel. It's not what's really going on, right? So let me listen to him. And as I listened to him and everybody talked about it, I said, well, I might as well get it. You know what I mean? So go ahead. Give me the vaccine. Let's start that and see what happens. Now I got this headache.
Oh, Lord.
I was in this dream, holding my head like this. I opened my eyes, like, oh my God, I can't see out the side of my, what's going on? Like, but that's just because I haven't eaten. It's not because of the shot. So, you know, I've been drinking plenty of water. My arm isn't sore, you know, so I'm good. I guess I get the second shot in 3 weeks. What is it, 3 weeks?
3 weeks.
So I'll see him in 21 days. So I'm excited, man.
Wow. Let me just give you a hand clap. That's great. That's really good stuff. So it sounds like you were surrounded by people who had a positive experience, people who were all vaccinated, because at one point you had asked us on the bus how many of y'all are vaccinated, and I guess it was like 7 or 8 of us there, and we all were vaccinated, and you were the only one not. So it sounds like you know, changing up your environment and kind of being around people who had something different to say about the vaccine as opposed to who you're usually around had an impact as well. So if we can just circle ourselves around people in the Black community who kind of feel like that, I think that we can, continue to have that impact. So thank you for telling us why you decided to do it. I appreciate it.
And I want to thank you for hosting that event, right? Taking the time to put everything together, watching you, listening to you, talking to you. Like you said, you thought you had me before the right. And when we did the show on Wednesday, I was like, no, I'm not getting the vaccine. I'm not dealing with the vaccine. It's not happening. And then we had another situation on Saturday, and I really sat there and I listened to everyone and everything that everybody was saying. And when, like I said, Rashid, if it wasn't for Rashid, it wouldn't have happened. Literally,
wow.
I was listening to him, and he was looking at me when he was talking to me. He was like, bro, like, the people that have it are not living the same because they couldn't get the vaccine, right? They aren't able to do the things that they used to do. Like, how are you set up? Like, you're supposed to be here for your children. How are you set up if you get COVID right now and it attacks you a little bit differently, and you got to worry about, rehab and all this other situation, or you're not able to go up and down the steps and do everything that you do on the. I'm like, oh, I can't. No, I didn't know. Ain't nobody tell me that. I thought some elderberry and some sea moss and a little bit of this would keep me cool. What you mean? No, I don't want none of that. Oh, I can get. All right, come on, let's do it. Let's get it done, right? So I thank him, man, and you, both of y'all.
Like, yeah, of course. So Rashid, can you talk about that a little bit? What are you experiencing and seeing in the patients that you're having to care for in a hospital?
Well, mostly fortunately enough, like a lot of the patients that are coming in are vaccinated. Many of the patients that do come in, and if they're not vaccinated, they go through a process of being asked to be do they want to be vaccinated, being educated about it. And then most of the people who do come in the hospital, they generally will get vaccinated. You have some who will choose not to. But that's generally, it's not many as we think. Now, a lot of the admissions that do come in who are sick with COVID are people who are not vaccinated. And they typically are the ones who typically tend to be a little bit more ill than the others who have been vaccinated. When you're looking at it, depending on, we talk about comorbidities. So when we say comorbidities, we're talking about other ailments that health conditions that people may have. So if somebody has diabetes, somebody has high blood pressure, somebody may have an issue where they may have claudication issues, where we were talking about on the bus, clots, where people develop clots. There are issues where there are times when people have these issues where they become complicated when these people get sick, right? So, when you're looking at it, you're looking at the situation where you say, all right, if I have these issues, if I have diabetes, if I have high blood pressure, and I get COVID, now you're complicating the issues that you already have on top of the respiratory issues that COVID brings to you. Everybody's different. So how the disease affects them is different. You have some people who come in and they may be they may be winded. They may not be able to breathe adequately. They may need a couple of days of oxygen and then they go home. You have some people where their respiratory issues are really compromised. And then now from that being compromised, it's beginning to affect a whole nother set of issues and health conditions. And so that's when you start to have that like a lot of that downward spiral effect. And unfortunately, within our community, especially Black men, a lot of us don't go to the doctor. We don't get treated. We don't do annual exams. We don't, a lot of things that we don't do. So when we get sick, a lot of times we go to the hospital and they'll say, you're positive with COVID, you can't breathe. But how long have you been having high blood pressure? And then we're the main ones in there saying, like, I don't have high blood pressure. Well, you don't have it because you never knew that you had it. And so now we're treating not only COVID, but now we're treating your blood pressure, or we're treating another condition, maybe which is more common in our community, diabetes. So now we're treating those conditions as well. And a lot of times when you have these unknown comorbidities, and you put COVID on top of that, it just makes the condition even worse.
Yeah. So, I think it's really important to point out the fact that a lot of people don't even know the health conditions that they have. And we're going to do some shows on health screenings and what you need to do, how to know your numbers. And so we're going to talk about that because I think that that's an even bigger issue. You should not get to the ER to find out that you have diabetes or that you have high blood pressure. That stuff has it takes time to develop those things, and it should not be you in the ER because you can't breathe because of COVID that you find out that you have all these other issues going on. So we're going to do something about that. But I think that that's a really important point, is to point out that people don't always know what health conditions they have. And so you don't even realize you have comorbidities or other diseases to complicate COVID because you haven't been to see your doctor in a year or more, or you don't have a primary care doctor, or you don't have insurance because you can't afford to go to the doctor. And so it's really complicated. Hi, Dr. Walls. Thanks for joining us.
How you doing?
We're just talking about Uncle P's decision to get vaccinated, and he heard something that really stuck with him. He pretty much said that he heard the fact that from Rashid on the mobile clinic, he heard him say to him that, who's going to take care of you if you get COVID? And for him, that really stuck out to him. And, he felt like, all right, it's time to do it. It's time to make it happen. And so that is really what pushed him or motivated him to just go ahead and get the vaccine. And so that was awesome. I wanted to ask you, Dr. Walls, what are some other reasons that people have told you about why they don't want to get the vaccine?
Yeah, I love I love the fact that, first of all, that you're having these conversations, because I think it is the conversations that make the difference. And when you're hearing different people's thoughts and insights and reasonings and rationales, it forces you to think about something beyond your own thoughts. Yep. And many times, as we know, we get trapped in our own thoughts, and it really blocks our ears from hearing anything else. So when we have these conversations, and I would really call them, they're gentle conversations, right? Mm-hmm. Because it's not about trying to convince somebody. It's just here to inform people. Yes. And that's what I found with a lot of people, and specifically Black people. What I found is that they just want to be able to get the information, and they want to be able to get it from a trusted source. They don't want to feel as though someone's trying to convince them, someone's trying to persuade them, and definitely don't want to feel as though someone's trying to force them. Mm-hmm. And so that's some of the reasons actually why people have been hesitant, because they said that they feel as though people are trying to force them to get something and not enable them or allow them to make their own decision. They feel as though they're not being given ample, or hadn't been given ample amount of time to do their own research and really kind of feel it out for themselves and see how things are playing out. They feel as though they're being told that basically one size fits everybody, and that isn't the case. And, some of the research has even come out saying that, maybe one person might need one shot versus someone else getting 2 shots based on this, that, or whatever. And so they don't feel as though they've been given the truth or the fullness of the truth that actually exists. And then, of course, as we talked about the other night, trust is a huge part of it. Why should I trust this medical system? Why should I trust the government? Why are you giving me something for free? And so there's a whole lot of skepticism around the motivation and the reason. Like, why are you loving me now and you ain't loved me for over 400 years? Mm-hmm. So, right, that doesn't, what you say, Uncle P, absolutely, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, these are a lot of the reasons why people are taking their time. Now, we also have to just look at the natural order of things. You have those who tend to step out and do things first, and then the rest who follow. And so we have to, that's just human nature, right? So we're waiting to see. As I mentioned, I was one where I was waiting to see, okay, who's going to get it? Are they going to say that we actually need it? Is it going to be mandated? And for real, like, is that person's arm going to fall off, or they going to grow another head? Like, what's the real deal? What's going to happen? Because Uncle P, I can't remember if it was you or one of the other gentlemen from the other night, but I was in alignment with them where, I never got the flu shot.
Right,
I didn't get the, pneumonia shot, and I didn't get the flu, and I didn't get pneumonia. So, at first it was like, why do I need to get this? I'm very healthy. I eat healthy. I take all my vitamins and supplements and do all. Uncle P, you stopped talking real quick. What happened?
Right,
you were co-signing me for a little bit. What happened?
I'm because you said you're very healthy, right? I feel like I'm right there when we say that Black men don't visit their doctor, right? I'm not, and I've heard people say health is wealth in the Black community, right? So it's like, all right, I need to get on board with all of these things, right? I got to hit find me a primary care doctor, hit him up, make sure I'm going to check on my high blood pressure, and I haven't taken my medicine in over 4 years for high blood pressure, and it's like, yo, come on, man, what are you doing? You trying to have a stroke? You trying to have a heart attack? I'm dealing with a lot of things. So, for me, it's like I need to get on board with all of this stuff. And listen, I listened to my grandfather. I listened to my uncle. He told me, he was like, man, you got to get the vaccine. Your grandfather's 92 years old. You got to be there to pick him up if he needs you, if he call you. You can't deal with him if you don't have the vaccine. Well, I'm not getting the vaccine. I'm going to stay in my station. But like I said, talking to everyone that I talked to on Saturday, and they were just saying, they did it not only for themselves, but for their family. And then they did it to protect themselves. Now they can still get COVID, but it won't be as bad.
You gotta know some COVID facts.
Right. So it won't be as bad. So it was like, all right, I don't want it as bad. I don't want to be in there with a ventilator in my mouth and all that stuff. I want to go in there and say, listen, I got the shot, but I'm feeling a little sick. And they sit there and they give me a little breathing apparatus, and it's not as bad. My lungs aren't as terrible as they are. Because honestly, I said, I smoke cigarettes, so I ain't got to worry about COVID. I started smoking more cigarettes because I heard that the menthol in Newports stopped COVID.
Oh my God!
No, you did not.
I heard.
Oh man!
So I was like, all right, 4 cigarettes a day. It keeps the COVID away.
You know what?
Man.
So I'm like, I'm good. I come up and down the steps.
Newport probably put that rumor out in the hood.
Right, they probably did. You feel me? And I'm walking with it. And I'm like, whew, my chest. Do I got COVID? I can't even go up the steps. I'm not going to go get no tests. I'm not coughing or anything like that. But for me, that's how I was playing it, right? Because when it first hit, I put myself in the station. Like I'm not going anywhere. Anybody that comes here, I'm spraying down Lysol and everything. But for me, once I got the shot, I talked to a couple of my friends. He was like, man, for real, bro, I was going to tell you I got my shot.
That's hilarious.
I said, hold on, you telling me you sit there standing? He was like, man, I ain't want you to yell at me. I ain't want you to get mad.
Wow.
You feel me? I'm just saying, I was like, all right, cool, no problem. But I think just understanding that that the way we move, right? The way we design, the way our culture is set up. We always listen to the whispers. We always listen. We always go off of what was in the past. And I get that. And I'm not knocking anybody for that. But, you got to listen to the people that know the facts. And I feel like y'all are educated enough for me to sit and listen to y'all. It's not just anybody, right? We have people that have gone to school for this. Y'all understand medicine. So I would be wrong, and I would be neglecting the fact that y'all have education and y'all not just going off, ain't nobody putting no money in your pocket and say, here, go in the hood and say this. You know what I mean? So I have to listen to y'all. I have to take heed. And, I appreciate that.
Well, I appreciate your honesty with the cigarettes. I'm about to have a field day with you. I want the other one to speak first, but we're about to have at it in a moment. Look.
I think one of the biggest things too is that, and you hit on it, Uncle P, was that, being able to get somebody in a room and being able to provide them the information, right? Because I shared my story, and me and the doc, our story was similar. When it first came out, when they first started talking about it, and 45 was the main one putting the information out there. Every Black person in the world was like, oh no, 45 taking credit for this. And you know, but that was the emotional response, because that's the first thing that we saw. And then as time went on and I started doing my research, getting a little bit more information and understanding that the science was out there years before him, then I had to get wise about it. And then once I began to do the research and get more information, I felt more secure in the decision that I was going to make.
Yeah.
And then, you know, with my family as well. So it's one of the obstacles that we've been having to address within our community is just the misinformation that's out there. You know, I had it in my own family. You know, my sister-in-law is a nurse, and she was adamant about not getting it. And for the life, I have a family of nurses, right? Healthcare professionals, and she was adamant about she's not getting it. And for the life of me, we didn't pressure her. But then, you know, me and my wife, we started asking questions like, where are you getting your information from?
Yeah.
Right? Where are you getting your information from? Why you so adamant? And so then she started sending us where she was getting her information from. And so I said to my wife, is she even reading this stuff? Because if you know, a lot of times if you research where you get the information, where the information comes from, it'll basically tell you if it's validated or if it's opinionated.
Yes.
And a lot of the information that, unfortunately, the way the internet is set up with these algorithms, if you click on something that subscribes to being misinformation, you're gonna keep getting those things sent to you.
Yep.
And you know, so that's, you know, we as healthcare professionals that are out there, we're fighting that struggle with a lot of the misinformation, and then trying to get people in a safe space to be able to allow, like you, Uncle P, allow you to be able to voice all your questions, all your concerns with no pressure, and be able to answer them, you know, answer them honestly, truthfully, but still allow you to have your decision, or make your decision the way you want it, without you feeling as though you being looked down upon. And I think that's what we have to do. We have to allow people to feel comfortable in their space to be able to make the decisions that they want to make, and be okay with that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. There's so much in all of what was just said, because, right, first of all, we tend to do things based on feeling as opposed to fact. And I'm not saying following feeling isn't the right thing to do at times, but we have to learn to balance our feelings with our intellect. We need both. So if we're feeling a certain way, now we need some data to support it, right? That's in all things. We got to get some data, because sometimes our feelings are not correct, and sometimes they're spot on. And if you have not been developing that feeling muscle, then why are you choosing to trust it at certain times? Right? And so then, you know, Uncle P, like if we was in my office, look, we'd be going toe to toe right now. Because I'm like, what? You done chose Newport and what? Smoke 4 a day, keep the COVID away, and you did that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I don't know what's in there. I'm not going to get into the ingredients inside of cigarettes, right?
Yeah.
I've been looking at all that stuff, but you know, for it was a ton of misinformation that was passing by. And it's like being on the front line. I'm just picking things up and looking at it and saying, that could work. All right, I'll try this. You know, what's a little bit cheaper? And it was like and when Rashid said 45 was in charge of COVID, the way I thought of it. And I'm not taking nothing from dude. So let him get in there, do what he's gonna do, and then let me view it. And my daughter, when she had to get it for she had to go to college, I was like, baby, you sure? She's like, I have to get out of this house, Chief. I'm going to college. Give me my shot. And my other daughter did it for work. And I'm like, baby, you sure? She's like, I got to make money. I'm going to prom this year. I'm trying to get I'm good. Give me my shot. So I'm sitting there and I'm looking at what they did, and they did it for their mother, like I said, who has lupus. So I'm like, all right, man, maybe I could get it. But then I was like, nah, I'm not getting it, because it's going to have me growing somebody's face out of my neck. It's going to have me doing all types of crazy stuff. I'm good. Let me wait a little while longer. And literally, you know, I had a conversation today, and the brother said, who you know that's still dying of COVID? Why you get the shot now? It's too late. I said, man, listen, somebody could die tomorrow of COVID. I could get COVID and die from it, and they wouldn't even talk about it. Number one, because they want everybody to think the shot is working. So they stop giving all the hospitals money to say people are dying of COVID. They just going to say I died of high blood pressure. They're not going to say I died of COVID. So I'm getting my shot for protection for my children, for protection for myself. It has nothing to do with anybody else. But I did appreciate the conversation that I had and the information that was given to me at that moment to make me be like, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong, and this is right. And it's like, oh, all right, cool, I'm good.
Yeah. And Uncle P, you said something earlier too, which is vital. And again, Dr. Motley, why these conversations are so important, right? Because we are not being paid to push the vaccine, right? We're not on anybody's agenda here. It's just looking at what are the facts stating and what are the healthiest decisions for us. And then, of course, coming in and making sure that we're not getting in our own way of being the healthiest that we can be. Because we have to look at ourselves as Black people. And I understand there may be other nationalities and races that are listening, but I'm specifically speaking to the Black experience right now, that we have to be careful that we are not so used to being unhealthy that we remain unhealthy. That we are not so used to being victimized that we put ourselves in a victim position, that we are so used to being taken advantage of that we don't take advantage of our advantages, right? So we have to check ourselves and make sure that we are doing what is necessary for us to be healthy. And as they talk about survival of the fittest, make sure that we are putting ourselves in our best position for ourselves as well as our families and our loved ones.
You don't make me call the doctor about my...
Oh, I'm gonna be over there checking your blood pressure. I'm like, oh my goodness, the man got high blood pressure. Now I gotta go check his blood pressure.
Oh, it's 162 over 130.
Oh.
You can't say that talking to a heart nurse, man.
Like literally, man. I already know. Right?
We can bring it down. It can come down, right? And so, right, and these are things, right? High blood pressure, diabetes, these are not things that we have to pass on. We want to pass on generational wealth, not generational bad health.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So we can take whatever necessary steps there are to shift our realities. Just because you've been on medication doesn't mean that you have to stay on medication. You make the life changes in order. I know, I see. Look. Uh-oh.
No, listen. So for me, it's stuff about the blood pressure medicine. It's like, yo, it can mess up my. I don't.
We're gonna work through it all. Because you don't have to be on medication, like Dr. Wall said. There's so many other things you can do, to help manage your blood pressure that does not involve medication. But people like to take the easy way out. I'll just take a pill. Like I still eat what I want, and I'll still do what I want, and I'll still smoke what I want, and I just take a pill or not. And so you all have to make a decision on what you're willing to do to get your blood pressure under control, so you don't have to worry about taking medication. And so we're gonna talk about that. I got all these topics. First of all, I only got 30 minutes, and we already passed our 30 minutes.
I told you 30 minutes wasn't enough.
I don't know. I'm new to this.
You need an hour.
I'm new to this.
30 minutes go by like this.
Yeah, it do. Which is why I like it, because we can just stay focused and hit the facts and then hop back on another week. So I guess we can wrap up now. I don't know. Like, what do y'all think?
I thank Uncle P for being so transparent, because
always transparent. I'm
glad.
Right, absolutely.
Because there's so many people who are thinking what you're, who are thinking what you're thinking, who are doing what you're doing. And then it just becomes a matter of habit. And it doesn't have to be a matter of habit. We can make different life choices every moment that we breathe. Right. And all you have to do is add just one healthy something to your life each day. You don't have to go cold turkey and be like, all right, now 2 COVID mean, 2 cigarettes instead of, you can just do a little bit at a time.
Are you telling me I should quit?
Of course I am, but I'm saying it in a nice way.
Think about it. At least think about it, because it's those small steps. It has to be small steps, because if you do anything cold turkey, if you do anything too drastic, it's not going to last.
Yeah, and I'm gonna get fat. I'm gonna start eating. I stop smoking. I already tried that, and it doesn't work. So I just,
see, that's a whole. When I start to break down to you why it's important for you to stop and how smoking has an effect on your blood pressure, and then your blood pressure has an effect on your kidneys, and then if I start going into all that, then but that's a whole nother conversation.
That's a whole nother show.
That's a whole nother show.
Make them come back. Please. Make them come back. That's right.
so next week.
So we just diagnosing Uncle P. That's what we gonna do on every show. Nah,
Uncle P, you are representing so many people right now. I mean, for real, you are really representing so many people. And Dr. Motley, I'm so glad that you are doing this show, and I hope that people continue to tune in and share it with people, because I think every health tip will help tip people into health.
Yeah, you always got a slogan, Dr. Walls. I love it. Oh, all right. I saw Nolan put up a couple questions this evening. Can I ask Nolan for you to tune in next time? We're going to hit up these questions on the next show. I'm going to make sure to bring in some speakers that can speak to those, just to make sure that your issues and questions get addressed. They're really important, and I see them. So thank you. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in to the premiere of what's this called? Health Education. I just started today.
Dr. Motley, if people have health questions or topics that they want you to cover, is there any way for them to get in contact with you or to send you that information?
Why you asked me that on my first day? I ain't even set nothing up. I barely got here today at 7:00. I don't know. Well, I would say we're going to start posting on cmpradio.net Facebook page. So as you see posts there, you can comment there. We'll keep track. If you have questions that come up, you can comment there and we'll keep track there. So maybe there for now. And then once I get my life together and get my radio show host life together, I have a telephone number you can call and a email address that questions can come through. And I have like a production assistant and all this other greatness.
Yes.
So just give me some time.
Let's go.
I'll get it together. But thanks everybody for tuning in. Y'all have a good night. We'll be back in 2 weeks. We'll be here the 2nd and the 4th Monday. So Uncle P, put me in the schedule. The 2nd and the 4th Monday of every month for a half hour. If we need to go longer, I guess we can talk about going longer. But I just wanted to make it like short and sweet. I didn't want to like draw out because I know that people tired. And so I didn't want to take up too much of people's time. But we'll see.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Hey, well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
All right.
If you ever need me, I'm available for you guys.
Oh, I know. Thanks, Rashid. Thanks, Dr. Walls. Thanks,
You're welcome.
Thanks, Uncle P. Good night, everybody.
No problem.
All right. Good night, y'all.
Have a good evening.